soon as you're hired, the first place you go is Bohemian Grove. And I didn't know what that was. They took me there my first time, and I was 21 years old. This would have been 1987. And when I was there, I met Ronald Reagan. I stuck my hand out to shake his hand because I voted for Ronald Reagan. And he pulled his hand back away from me and wouldn't shake my hand. But, and so, I look like I was, it's okay. By going there, I met both Bushes. I met Bill Clinton in 92. I saw Barack Obama in 94. He wasn't even, nobody knew him, I think, in 94. He was walking past with George Soros. And they told me when he went past, that man's going to be president one day. And I thought, nobody voted for Jesse Jackson. Why would they vote for him? But he won 2 terms in a row. And while I was doing all of this, I worked for the Illuminati for 12 years. And I made about 1,200 rock stars. If you were a rock star from 87 to 99, and you weren't already famous, I'm the reason they're famous. I signed. Now, when I say rock star, that includes rap, hip-hop, country, opera, any genre of music you can think of. I made those people rock stars. I helped make about 1,200 rock stars. Have you guys ever heard how rock stars are made?
No? Please tell us.
Okay, so it's called a warehouse deal. It'll happen in either Los Angeles or Hollywood. Everybody that knows that they have to go there to become famous, they've heard it from their director, their producer, their agent, their publicist, another rock star. Somebody has told them, you need to go to this warehouse, go there on this day, and sign up, and just answer the questions appropriately, and you could become a rock star. So I go there, I have my uniform, I'm looking like the High Wizard, and I have an entourage with me. And this is obviously before computers, or before laptops, tablets, and things like that. We have our cell phones at that time could be used as a weapon. They're huge and heavy. So I go in this room, or this giant warehouse, and some of them have individual bins, but most people are out in public on the floor. And I walk through and I ask, who wants to be famous? Everybody raises their hand. What are you willing to do to be famous? And this is where people draw a line in the sand. Because some people will say, I'll do anything to be famous, but nothing with animals and nothing with children. Now, that's not who Satan wants. Satan wants the person that's willing to jump in the mud and be drugged through it. You're willing to do those things, he'll take you. But the people that draw that line in the sand, no, we're not interested. We just keep going. People are taken off the list, and it's like, you have to come back in a certain number of months. And I keep doing that. And I'm passing up sometimes hundreds of people that all say that. I'm not willing to do something with a relative, not willing to do something with a child, not willing to do anything with an animal. And it's like, okay, well, come back when you are. And I just keep going. There was a guy in there that said, he told me up front, I cannot sing, I cannot dance, I cannot write a poem, I cannot write music, I cannot write a song. All right. But I'm still thinking Satan can do something, so what are you willing to do to be famous? Anything. I was like, you got to give me an example of what anything was. And he said, if you put me in a room with a 3-year-old naked girl and a horse, I'm going to have sex with at least one of them. I'll have sex with both of them if I think that's what you want. You're our boy. So while he's there, There was somebody, we had a Dr. Seuss book that had been there for years. And I had somebody bring me that book. Go through the building, try and find that book, bring it back to me. So he brings it back to me, and I give it to him. And I said, read me that. So he starts reading a Dr. Seuss book. And just before it rhymes, he closes the book and says, I don't get it. I thought, wow, you can't even make a Dr. Seuss book rhyme. So I give him a card. It's called a Tier 2 card. On one side is the New York skyline. On the other side is a phone number. I said, you call the number on this card. Do whatever it is they ask you to do. And I'll see you on MTV in 6 months. Whatever he did, I saw him on MTV and VH1 about 3 months later, singing and dancing in one of the most popular boy bands of the 1990s. Now, I've been told by multiple singers what it is you have to do. And you only have one of 4 options to do. So, when you go to there's a hotel in Los Angeles. It looks like a bright, shiny hotel, except that there's almost never any cars at it. They use it for this purpose only. So you go there, you park your car, you go inside, they ask you for your name, you have to give your ID, then they have you sit down for a while in the lobby. Then when they're ready, they make you a key to go to your room. They tell you where your room is, and they give you the key, and you take the elevator up, you go up, and you use that card to get in the door. When you go through the door, up above the door is a camera that faces down. On the table facing you, it's a white, diamond-shaped table. On that table is a list of instructions that start at the top of the table and come all the way down to the bottom. There's also a glass bowl with white envelopes in it. The paper tells you your job is to pull out an envelope, open it up, and read what it says to do, and hold it up to the... Then you put the contents back in the envelope and close it back up, put it in your back pocket. Pull out another envelope and do the same thing, and hold that up. If you decide neither one of these options is something you want to do, then you have to leave the room, go downstairs, and hand both of these envelopes into the men behind the desk. At which time you'll be informed, and you're seeing it here in this paper as well, but you'll be informed that you cannot try this again for 3 years. And the reason for that is, you made it this far. And if you decide these things are too gross, you don't want to do either one, then for the next 3 years, you see all the new rock stars come out that could be not as handsome or not as pretty as you, putting out songs that aren't as good as yours, but now they're living in what could have been your mansion and being given millions of dollars that could have been yours. And now they have tons of girlfriends or boyfriends that could have been yours, and they're driving around in a hot car that could have been yours. You could have had all this, but you decided not to. And now you're watching however many rock stars there are in your genre of music having everything that could have been yours, but you turned it down. So a lot of times when that 3 years is up, about half the people decide, I'm going to do it this time, and the other half just learn to live without it, and think, I'm never going to do this. This is the grossest thing ever. So I'm going to give you the 4 things you have to do, and I'm going to give it in the order of what I think is the least gross to the most gross. So the first option, and also, if you pull an envelope and you decide, I can do that one, there'll be a number or a letter on the envelope that's also on a door in the suite you're in. When you go in there, you have 3 hours to do this task. And during that time, you are filmed and they take still photos of you. So if at some point you decide, I'm going to reveal to the world what it is that I had to do, well, they've got video and still photos of you doing that. So, you might think that you're throwing the Illuminati under the bus, but you're as well throwing yourself under the bus. So, the least gross to me, and this is because when I was a kid, we had some of the grossest medicine for colds and flus ever. And I learned that if you tilt your head back and hold your nose, you can just gulp it and that's it. So this one is a large cup that's given to you. It holds about 14 ounces and you're drinking human vomit. And I thought, all right, I could do that if I held my nose. I could just swallow it all. And it most likely is going to come right back up. But you don't have to drink it again. You just have to do it the one time. The next option is that you have to eat a large bowl of animal feces. I'm pretty sure I could not do that. I mean, it smells like crap, because it is crap. And I'm not sticking that in my mouth and swallowing it. But they say you have to empty that bowl. I don't know what size a large bowl of animal feces is, but to me, any size bowl would be too big to swallow. The next option is you have sex with animals. It'll be dogs and cats. Again, you have 3 hours to do this, and you sleep with as many of them as you can in 3 hours. I'm thinking that having sex with a cat would be very dangerous, and you're going to lose a lot of skin. And the last one is you are put in a room with trafficked children, 12 and younger, and told to have sex with as many of them as you can in 3 hours. Now, if you wonder what happens to people that decide they're going to tell what happens and see what happens to them, think Chris Cornell or Chester Bennington, because both of them, a few years ago, decided that they would tell about the pedophile industry within the music industry, and they were both murdered, but it's called being suicided out. So it makes it look like you committed suicide, but in reality you were murdered. So I made 1,200 rock stars that did this, but I understand that they still do this. So think of any rock star you know. I know of 4 bands that didn't have to do this. And how I know of these 4 bands is that every 90 days, they knew where we were going to be for the next 90 days. So any band that had ever signed with my coven, which meant they also signed with a high wizard through the Illuminati, all those bands you got to go to for free. The only 4 bands that I didn't get to go to for free was U2, Bruce Springsteen, Pink Floyd, and Metallica. Everyone else I got to see for free. Them I had to pay for. And it's possible that one of them could have sold their soul after I left. But I left in 1999. And all of them were already millionaires many times over by the time I left. Why would you sell your soul now? You're already famous and rich.
You got a few people asking Zachary whether this is the kind of stuff Diddy was into, and that's how he got his rise to fame.
I think that, P. Diddy would have done that. And my wife says that every time there's a famous person in the news that's caught in a scandal, I look more and more legit. I mean, he's in there for human trafficking and rape and crossing state lines to have sex. And, I've also heard pedophilia, and that's one of the steps in becoming a rock star. is having sex with children. You know, but everybody does. There's about 12 years ago or 13 years ago, something like that, I did a talk at the cathedral in Venice, Florida. And I gave a talk like this, and it was youth and adults there. When I was done with the talk, it was time for the Q&A. And all these parents put their hands up, and they got called on. And this woman said, "Not Taylor Swift. She's innocent." And I said, "Well, she might be innocent now, but give her some time. She'll eventually be singing songs about promiscuity and practicing magic out in the open and being satanic out in the open." And they're like, "Oh, no, that's never going to happen. She's innocent. She's this, she's that." And I said, "Okay, this is the deal I'll make with you. Whenever she comes out and starts doing these things that I'm talking about, there's like 1,000 of you here. So how about each one of you sends me $1,000? You're all gonna, I mean, this is a rich church. There's a lot of people with money here. $1,000 to a lot of you is gonna be like nothing. But if all 1,000 of you send me $1,000, I'll be a millionaire. So how about that?" Now, there was an article that came out, I think last year, and it was in LifeSite News, and it was an interview with Father Dan Rio. He's the exorcist in Nashville, Tennessee. And he said that no parent in good conscience can take their child to see Taylor Swift in concert because she practices magic on stage, and that all the demons that are attracted to magic and mortal sin will show up there waiting to see who's there not in a state of grace, which only a Catholic can get into. Protestants can't get in a state of grace except at their baptism. And then as soon as they sin, they don't have a way to go back into it. So they're going to look for all the people that are not in a state of grace and attached to them. And then you're going to take that demon home with you. And depending on what the family is into, you're either going to have some serious oppression or possibly even possession.